Welcome back, crew. Yeah, you saw the title right. Today we are going to be defending Dungeons and Dragons and primarily the fifth edition. And a lot of you are probably surprised with that because the main goal of this channel is to shine a spotlight on other tabletop RPG systems outside of the D&D 5e shadow and give them some love and support. But today, for a couple of reasons, I thought it'd be good to defend D&D and primarily the fifth edition, kind of show some of the impact positively it's had on the tabletop industry. And one of the big reasons was, and I completely stumbled across this yesterday through Reddit and a couple of articles. Dungeons and Dragons is celebrating its 50th anniversary, which I think is kind of a huge moment for the tabletop space. Kind of surprising to get more fanfare a little bit. I was like, I had to Google and Wiki a little bit to make sure it seemed right, which it kind of does. But it did celebrate its 50th anniversary. And I think especially for players like myself and others who have maybe started with D&D and maybe started with 5e in particular and kind of moved on to other systems within the TTRPG space. I think a lot of times it's easy to not necessarily get hostile, but kind of forget some of the positive things that D&D and particularly 5e have done for the hobby. And I'm going to kick it off with one of my big points, one of the big defenses for D&D 5e is it's gotten a lot more people, the most people out of any system into the tabletop RPG space. And I know a lot of people, when they do get into the space, start with 5e, a lot of them do stick with 5e, but a lot of them do spread and kind of go to the other systems once they kind of get comfortable with the RPG space in general or kind of find an area where 5e just doesn't do what they want to. They kind of spread out and start to play more systems. I usually hate this analogy. I hear it too much at work. Uh, but a rising tide in this case does lift the other boats, with 5e coming in and gaining popularity from Stranger Things, Critical Role, and all the other things that kind of boosted its place in the culture. It did bring more people into the RPG space to be able to go in and try other hobbies or try other systems within the hobby. And I'll say this myself too. I didn't start with 5e. I always say this. I started with either 3.5 or Pathfinder. I wasn't the most diligent player back in the day. I'm not sure which I started with. Played both of them in that time period. But 5e is actually the one that got me back into the hobby. My gaming group kind of stopped after college, and I had a few years where I just didn't really play. And then one of my friends got into 5e and got the table going and got me back into the space. And 5e was the first one I felt comfortable DMing myself. It kind of got me into the deeper and on the other side of the table within the hobby too, which is definitely something I'm grateful for. And I've kind of seen that story kind of spread out through Reddit, through my friends. Even when I make the mistake of going on Twitter, sometimes I can see some positives for it there. So I think that's just really one of the things that truly should be recognized with 5e and D&D in particular, just how many people it brings into the hobby. And 5e, even though like there's a lot of mechanic complaints about it, and a lot of them are valid too, not touching those today, but how many people it has made feel comfortable jumping on the other side of the GM screen and kind of started to tell their stories and engage the hobby with that side. I can see a lot of the people that I see in the other tabletop RPG spaces, like they're leaving to play Pathfinder, Blades in the Dark, Die, any of the new systems. A lot of times they started off as a 5e DM that just wanted to try something new or try a genre or kind of feel a mechanical system that just really wasn't possible with 5e. And I think it deserves some credit for bringing so many people into the hobby and giving them the tools to feel confident to be able to go and start new tabletop RPGs and play different games and kind of tell those stories. So that's a really big defense for 5e for me. And one of the other ones, this is kind of like a bit of a defense for 5e, but also something just in the tabletop space I've noticed, especially I frequent Reddit a lot, usually lurking, but I see this a lot with Pathfinder Reddit as well as just kind of the RRPG subreddit. A lot of times people bash like 5e pretty hard. And like I'm not gonna defend the mechanics. I've had my own critiques with a lot of 5e mechanics. But I do think that's actually does a little bit of hurt towards their mission, especially with the kind of Pathfinder RPG where they want to get more people playing different systems, coming in and like just railing the system that they enjoy. I feel often kind of has an inverse impact on that. It's going to get more people more defensive and less likely to try new games. So if you are one of those people, and as I said, I've critiqued and sometimes been one of those bashers myself. Uh, that's not the best way to get people to play a new system. Really kind of showcase what your system's doing, kind of the cool things about it. But yeah, 5e is an easy target because it definitely does have its flaws, but yeah, flogging isn't going to get more people playing different systems. So just kind of a thought on that side of it. I just see that kind of so frequently in this space, and especially with how many people have been brought into the hobby through 5e. Bashing it really isn't going to do the kind of the added effect, and kind of gets to become like a firing circle, we'll say, where people just continually bash it versus kind of doing some fun, like highlighting the other fun things within the TTRPG space. Moving on from that one of the big things I think 5e has done that has been exceptional for the hobby and probably got more people building new RPGs. And this is kind of a little bit of a reflection on its mechanics, but I do think it's a net positive. It's got us people so comfortable with homebrewing, being able to come up with their own features or classes, races, all of that, and kind of get them into putting their system designer hat on, myself included. And I think that's a really good thing overall for the hobby. Like, I bet if we like ask some of the current like TTRPG creators who publish their own system, especially some of the younger ones. 5e and kind of being inspired to homebrew from that system probably helped them or kind of pushed them into building their own system. And I think more and more people that kind of know or can at least wear that system developer hat to kind of be able to read and kind of go through different RPGs, whether they build their own content or not, frequently is a great thing for the hobby because it just shows you kind of helps you find better tabletop RPGs that are going to fit your needs if you kind of know a little bit of the back end of system development, but it also gets more and more diverse RPGs out there that we may not have had if people just didn't have that confidence in their own ability to kind of brew up something and make it, bring it to the table and have people enjoy it. And I think that's something that 5e has done very, very well. Almost too well in some situations where people may go to other RPGs and just start brewing away before they completely understand the system. But that's a problem for another day. I think that's overall a net positive. It is something really cool that I think 5e has done for the hobby and really kind of helped spread more tabletop RPGs just through the people, with people being willing to kind of go behind the system and figure out what needs to be done to be bring their vision to the table. So I think that's amazing. But overall, this was just kind of a quick video with D&D celebrating its 50th anniversary and just some of those things I've seen across Reddit. Really, truly, the best way to get people to play new tabletop RPGs, in my humble experience, just highlight the cool things that they do. You don't always have to slap 5e down to lift the other system up. Just really kind of shout out some of the cool things they're doing, and just gotta show some love to the 5e players too a little bit because I think the more players 5e gets, the more players on tabletop RPGs are going to get. Because eventually you're going to want to tell a story that 5e just truly can't. Whether it be like for me, when I wanted to play a superhero system and 5e is not set up for that, and I found Mutants and Mastermind or somebody trying to do a sci-fi Shadow Dark campaign and just really finding that 5e is not the best fit. And it just gets people to explore the tabletop RPG hobby and kind of bring some love to those other systems. So in this situation, a rising tide does lift all boats. But yeah, shout outs below. This kind of quick video that's on my mind a little bit. Shout out some of your favorite like 5e aspects or just some cool things about some cool stories you've had with Dungeons and Dragons that's kind of spread helped you kind of propel you into the tabletop RPG hobby as a whole. But keep an eye out. Our game of the month for this month is 13th Age. So if you are new to the channel and wanted to see another tabletop RPG played out, come check out 13th Age. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a mechanics video. And then Tuesday, the 30th of January, we're doing our live actual play of 13th Age. So you can see the system live in action, as well as get a chance to win a free PDF copy of the core rulebook. And for those who don't know, 13th Age is another fantasy uh, tabletop RPG that's often described as another good D&D alternative. So if you're looking for something new, check that out. And also check out our Pandemonium campaign. It's our Pathfinder 2e campaign just kicked off. We've got our session 0 and 1 uploaded. More to come soon. Definitely check those out if you get a chance. But thanks for hanging out and until next time.